Stop! If you're hunting for the best books by Carl Jung to dive deep into Jungian psychology, you're in the right place. In this video, I'll break down the ultimate beginner's book by Jung, the book which is key to understanding Jung himself, a systematic guide to his core concepts, a mind-bending gem that often flies under the radar, and finally, what might be his most controversial book ever written. The fact that a metaphysics of the mind was supplanted in the 19th century by a metaphysics of matter is a mere trick if we consider it as a question for the intellect. Yet, in regards from the standpoint of psychology, it is an unexampled revolution in man's outlook upon the world. Carl Jung, Modern Man in Search of a Soul. If you're just beginning your journey into Carl Jung's world, this is the book you should start with. It's one of his most basic and easy to understand, yet it packs a punch. In these pages, Jung delves into the very core of analytical psychology, laying out concepts that have the power to transform how you see yourself and the world around you. When I first picked up this book, I was a skeptic, convinced that dream analysis and art were just for the spiritually inclined or hippies or something. But as I turned the pages, something unexpected happened. I found myself drawn into the depths of active imagination and dream work. Before I knew it, I was painting, a skill I never thought I had or even wanted. But this book is far more than a guide to personal transformation. In his essay on the spiritual problem of modern man, Jung takes a hard look at our existential and spiritual crisis in the modern world. He also pulls us back through the corridors of time to explore the psyche of ancient humans, showing us how their worldview differs from ours and why that difference still matters today. Jung doesn't stop there. He redefines psychotherapy, not just as a tool for healing, but as a crucial means of navigating the chaos of modern life. This book, more than any other, is Jung's attempt to restore something we've lost, a connection to the soul that modern man so desperately needs. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. Carl Jung, Memories, Dreams, Reflections. If you truly want to grasp the essence of Carl Jung, his thoughts, his experiences, and the very soul of his journey, then this is the book you cannot afford to miss. This isn't just a biography. It's a deeply personal narrative that reveals the inner workings of one of the greatest minds in psychology. It's the kind of book that stays with you and one you'll find yourself returning to again and again, I promise, uncovering new layers with each read. Through this book, you're invited to see the world through Jung's eyes, tracing his evolution from a curious child to Sigmund Freud's closest confidant, and ultimately the founder of his own revolutionary school of psychology. What makes this book particularly compelling is that it's not just Jung's own words. It's a mosaic of interviews, reflections, and reworded conversations, capturing the essence of a man who was constantly evolving. Jung takes us on a journey through his life, exploring the profound influence of his mother and cousin, both of whom were gifted with psychic and paranormal abilities. He delves into the shadow of his father, a pastor who, over time, became a staunch atheist, his faith eroded by doubt. There's also the unsettling tale of Jung's childhood dream, a breaking of ethical boundaries in a desperate bid to save a patient, and the chilling recount of his near-death experience during surgery, where he found himself floating outside his own body. But perhaps the most crucial aspect of this book is Jung's exploration of his own unconscious, a confrontation with his deepest fears and darkest impulses. It's here that we witness the birth of a psychology that not only reshaped and healed Jung, but has the potential to do the same for you. This book isn't just a window into Jung's life. It's an invitation to embark on your own journey of self-discovery, guided by the reflections of a man who dared to face his own demons. If space and time are only apparently properties of bodies in motion and are created by the intellectual needs of the observer, then the relativization by psychic conditions is no longer a matter for astonishment, but is brought within the bounds of possibility. Carl Jung, Synchronicity, an acausal connecting principle. Now, this is the controversial one. Out of all of Jung's works, this is the book that invokes the most criticism. But before you dive in, I have to give you a warning, and trust me, This may sound bizarre, but brace yourself for the unexpected. When I first read this book, it genuinely changed my life. Strange, inexplicable events started to unfold all around me, and the impact of those experiences has never truly left me. Synchronicity isn't just another book on psychology. It's a doorway to a different way of experiencing reality. Of all Jung's works, this one reawakened something in me I thought I'd lost. A profound sense of awe and wonder at the world, at the mysterious beauty woven into the fabric of nature. But don't expect a neatly packaged scientific theory here. On that front, it falters. Jung's attempts to tie quantum mechanics to analytical psychology feel more like a stretch than a breakthrough. His astrological experiment, yeah, that kind of defies conventional logic. Yet the value of this book transcends intellectual critique. It's about something deeper, something that can't be measured or fully understood, an encounter with the unknown. For me, this book presented the single greatest challenge to the modern belief that the universe is a cold, meaningless void. Now, it may not hit you in the same way, but if you're open to it, synchronicity could shake the very foundations of how you see the world. God does not want to be just. He merely flaunts might over right. Carl Jung, Answer to Job. Now, this one is a real mind bender. In just over 100 pages, Jung takes on one of the most famous and troubling stories in the Old Testament, the Book of Job. But let me warn you, his reaction to Yahweh's treatment of Job is anything but favorable. With piercing insight and fiery critique, Jung dares to probe the very mind of God himself. Here, Jung delivers a revelation that will leave you rethinking everything you thought you knew about the divine. It's not Job who needs God, but rather God who needs Job. Through this confrontation, Yahweh stumbles upon a shocking realization about his own nature, something he never knew. To fully grasp this new understanding of himself, Yahweh embarks on a profound journey of self-discovery, which Jung meticulously unpacks in a process of theological development that spans the ages. And what's the solution to Yahweh's dilemma? A solution in the form of a man who would go on to become the most famous figure in history. This book is Jung at his most daring, using the lens of psychology to expose the psychological and symbolic forces at work in one of the most widely read religious stories of all time. But Jung doesn't just stop at explaining the story. He might just be revealing the fundamental secret of life itself. Prepare yourself. Answer to Job is more than a commentary. It's a journey into the depths of the human psyche, where divine and mortal meet in a confrontation that has the power to change how we see ourselves and the world. Fundamentally, the aim of individuation is to free the self from the false wrappings of the persona on the one hand, and from the suggestive power of the unconscious images on the other. Carl Jung, 2 essays on analytical psychology. Now, if you're ready to go beyond the basics and really dive into the heart of Carl Jung's groundbreaking ideas, 2 essays on analytical psychology is where you need to go. This book isn't just a collection of theories, it's the blueprint for understanding the human psyche in a way that will change how you see yourself and everyone around you. In these essays, Jung does something extraordinary. He starts by taking on Freudian psychology, which was the gold standard of his time, but instead of just criticizing it, he carefully dissects it, showing both its strengths and its limitations. And then he does something even more daring. He builds his own system from the ground up. Jung usually isn't so systematic in his works, but in this one, he really does try to systematize it. Jung introduces us to the idea of psychological types, what would later become the foundation for the 8 types and 4 functions. He then leads us deep into the unconscious, not just as a concept, but as a living, breathing part of who we are. You'll explore the shadow, those hidden aspects of ourselves we often deny, and the collective unconscious, where archetypal forces shape our dreams, behaviors, and even our destiny. What makes this book especially powerful is how Jung brings his theories to life with real examples from his clinical practice. Imagine getting a front row seat to the mind of a master psychologist as he works with patients, illuminating the hidden corners of their psyches. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're insights grounded in the lived experiences of real people. And then there's individuation. Jung describes this as the journey to becoming your true self, a process of integrating those parts of you that have been lurking in the shadows, waiting to be acknowledged. It's not just psychology, it's a roadmap for living a more authentic, fulfilled life. But the real kicker? The final chapter, the mana personality. This is where Jung takes everything he's discussed and brings it to a truly jaw-dropping conclusion. The depth, the insight, the sheer brilliance of his analysis will send chills down your spine. I still remember when I read it, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath me, like I was seeing the human psyche in a completely new light. This isn't just a book, it's an invitation to explore the depths of your own mind and discover what lies beneath the surface. And if you're ready for that journey, then this book is definitely for you. And there you have it, my top picks for Carl Jung's best books. Jung's work can be challenging, but the insights you'll gain are more than worth the effort. So don't be intimidated, dive in, and let these books guide you on a journey to deeper understanding.